This is a dusty camera bag I bought at least 5 years ago at this Savers in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. It had a few random things in it, some cheap filters and whatnot, so I picked it up and tossed it in the corner of my room when I was finished with it. It's now 2021, and I'm in the middle of moving to my new and very overpriced apartment in Madison for my final year of college. I found this bag as I was packing and was reminded of how bad my memory is. At some point, I must have thrown these random rolls of film in there, all gutted from the various film cameras I found at thrift stores throughout high school, back when you could actually find nice cameras at thrift stores. This is the least interesting roll given that Superia is still commercially available. Unfortunately, I don't have any of the boxes for these, so I can't exactly tell when these expired. This roll is kind of cool though because it's got the old Walmart logo on it. This roll is a lot more interesting if you ask me. This is Kodak BWC, a black and white film that you develop as C41. From what I can gather on the internet, this is an older version of a film I found at another Goodwill years ago called Kodak BW400CN. I believe that film was introduced in 2004, and according to popularphotography.com, it was discontinued shortly before I started getting into film in 2014. So, I'm going to guess this roll was purchased sometime in the very early 2000s, which should make it almost as old as me. Now this last roll here is pretty neat, and it's the one I'm most intrigued about. This is Kodacolor VR 400. I couldn't find out much about this film, but according to Wikipedia and filmrescue.org, it seems safe to say that this film was first available in 1982 and production ceased in 1986. This is just one of many iterations that Kodak released in the Kodacolor line. This release from the Chicago Tribune archive suggests that its immediate successor, Kodacolor VR G400, was introduced by late 1987. This roll is pushing on 40 years old, and somehow, it's made its way here to me in 2021. Fortunately, I found these just as I was winding down my film adventures for the summer, so I have some pretty well-used C41 chemicals I don't mind sacrificing should these rolls turn up blank. Since I have no idea what I'm doing with film, much less film older than me, I decided to tack on some extra time during the development, though I can't be certain if it made much of a difference. To be honest, these rolls were mostly disappointing for reasons I'll explain in a minute. 2 of the rolls looked mostly blank, which is why this final roll elicited this reaction from me. Oh shit. Oh shit, we actually have photos. Oh shit. Oh my god. There's actually photos on here. Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. Dude, we got photos on this. Let's take a break for a quick PSA to all of my young camera hunters out there. If you do happen to stumble upon a film camera at a thrift store, please do not pop open the back without first checking for film. I've made this mistake countless times because I had no idea what I was doing. Now, most of the time you won't end up finding anything, but here's another PSA for anyone who is considering donating a camera that's been collecting dust for a few decades. Please check that camera for film. You never know, there might be some important memories waiting to be developed. You can advance the film lever to see if there's any resistance, or play it safe and hit the film rewind button and get to spinning. Only then should you open the back. I say this for 2 reasons. Most of the time, as in my case here, if there is any film in there, it'll be something discontinued, and you might as well take the opportunity to shoot it while you can, even if the film's colors might look a little off. Number 2. This won't matter to most people, but you might unearth some really interesting photos from a time long before you. Now, I do think it's a little weird looking at someone else's photos, and I wouldn't normally share images I didn't personally create on the internet, but there are plenty of accounts dedicated to lost memories and trying to find out who they belong to, which I think is pretty cool. But more than anything, you get to see into a part of the past from the lens of someone just like you, and you get to see where your camera has been and the stories it's been used to capture, which is something you don't always get to see. I say this because I messed up on all of the rolls, which you'll see soon as we return to our regularly scheduled programming. Here we have the roll of Superia, which, as you can see, seems to never have been shot despite being fully wound up. As with all of the film in this video, I don't remember which camera this roll came with. I'm not too beat up about this though, since I have more of this chilling in my refrigerator. This roll of Kodak BWC was by far the most successful roll in terms of clearly scannable negatives, even though half of the roll was completely exposed, and it seems that the top and bottom of the film was exposed to light, probably when I opened it up without checking for film first, as I have instructed you not to do. What you're seeing here are photos I didn't know I made back in my sophomore year of high school, as I played around with a new camera. This was a real surprise, seeing as my dad no longer has hair. It's also good seeing how everything is shaky and out of focus. Proof that some things never change. Interestingly, these converted negatives from the BWC tend to lean more toward the magenta side, while the newer BW400CN has a bluer tint that I much prefer. Your results may vary though. Finally, we have the most exciting curly mess of a roll, the Kodacolor VR 400. This one hurt to scan not only because it won't lie flat, but because although it didn't look like there was much on it, there's actually a mixture of my photos and what looks to be someone's vacation photos, all ruined by light leaks introduced by yours truly. These negatives are ridiculously faint, and I gave up on getting the colors right in favor of just trying to save the images as much as possible. It took a while, and I really had to rack my brain to figure out what some of the images I made were, but I managed to kind of figure it out. I don't know if I thought I was making art or if I just didn't realize there was film in the camera, but here's a picture of the busted laptop I used to use in high school, along with what appears to be my homework. This one is kind of photoception. This is a photo I was editing in Lightroom, back when I was super fascinated by light painting. This last negative confused me for a while until I saw it from far away. It's me. But enough of the boring stuff, and let's get to what we're all here for. Photos of the past we can romanticize for views. It's a miracle some of these survived, and on a serious note, if you have any idea who made these photos, do let me know. It's a long shot, but I'd be interested in learning more about this roll of film. Like I said before, what photos remain seem to come from someone's vacation. Based on little details like the cars as well as the date this film was available, this has got to be from the 80s. A whole 20 years before I existed. I can't for the life of me figure out where these photos were made, though. At first, I thought it might have been Lake Michigan, since I bought this camera at a Goodwill in Milwaukee. But that doesn't seem right, especially with these photos here with palm trees. Because of that, I'm thinking it might be Florida, but if you have any thoughts, I'd like to hear them. This might be a helpful clue, but I can't tell if this is a photo of a bird or a giant sculpture of a bird. If we've got any ornithologists in the audience, now is your time to shine. I wish I could tell you that there's more, but unfortunately, this is all I could salvage. It isn't at all what I was expecting to find, but I'm glad I finally got around to this after all these years. If you like this video, consider subscribing for more content, and be sure to follow me over on Instagram at FreshmanBrian. Thanks for sticking around, and remember, don't be like me, and check your cameras for film before you open them. I'll catch you next time.